frontier opening bell is back this Thursday, the 14th of March. And this is how we get in the days started on this side of the Atlantic with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the GSE, coming through yesterday with a very roaring 1.05%. The resources index on the market was up very strongly around 2%, and that lifted the entire GSE back to around 74,000 reading, a very strong trading day in Joburg. Then you've got the Nairobi stock market continuing on that positive trajectory, up by about 1% on Wednesday. Then the Egyptian stock market is ending the week today. It's trading week in Cairo. We've seen two sessions of back-to-back pullback as investors got a little bit skittish now against where we started the week on Sunday. Very strong reading on Monday as well. Then Tuesday, the market pulled back a little bit around 1%. Then it pulled back again much bigger, about 5% on Wednesday. The BRVM went down about 0.1% yesterday when we saw the shares of a Bank of Africa, Mali shares are down on that exchange in West Africa, based in Cote d'Ivoire, as well as other big names such as the BICC. The Nigerian stock market continued its growth trajectory, 0.47% reading positively on Wednesday. That's just a midweek summary. The Ghana stock market was about 0.04% in the red. Then you've got the Zimbabwe stock market, a very strong little notches above 2%. I'm taking this all the way down to East Africa. Let's get in some of the big stories we're following for you to continue the rest of the week as we get into the middle of the month. The Kenyan authorities walking a tightrope right now, but the stock market is trying to find its way around how to stave off the meltdown that was seen in 2023, with the stock exchange now looking at hybrid bonds as a way to boost trading and liquidity on the market, as we saw some recovery in the Kenyan shilling against the dollar. The Treasury in Nairobi has kicked off the sale of about 600 million shillings of government equity in 5 top hotels. Those hotels were announced a few weeks ago, just about a month ago or so, part of the divestment of the government of President Ruto. And the team from the private sector and selling some of those hotels in Nairobi, in Mombasa, and a few other locations across the country. The DR Congo, now part of the EAC, says its public revenue was up $1.4 billion in the first 3 months of this year. If we take it to the north, where Somalia is getting about $100 million from UN-backed Green Climate Fund to support the country's step towards sustainable energy and climate-friendly sustainable energy provisions. The ESX, that's the European, sorry, I beg your pardon, that's the Ethiopia Securities Exchange, the new Ethiopian Securities Exchange, which is expected to be floated later this year. The CEO of the National Bank of Ethiopia, which is the central bank, the head of the Nigerian Exchange Group, Tobi Pokola, were together in Addis yesterday to discuss the relationship between and all the help that the new Ethiopian Securities Exchange will get from big brothers such as the Nigerian Exchange, as well as others within the continent, South Africa, Kenya, and others, by the way, to get a very big launch for or takeoff for this main exchange, which will be one big story for the current year. Let's take it to West Africa very quickly with the Nigeria's central bank yesterday donating over 100 billion naira worth of fertilizers to farmers. That was piloted through the Ministry of Agriculture. But the biggest story, I'm sure you already know that Nigeria is stepping into the Eurobond market according to Bloomberg reports, perhaps as early as June. So Citibank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all being hired as advisors for the new deal. It's going to be the first time since 2022 when Nigeria last went to the global debt markets. So far this year, we've seen Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, as well as Benin Republic doing roughly $8 billion in total in terms of Eurobonds. Now, as the US is looking to perhaps a rate cut at its FOMC meeting in June, the Nigerian authorities think that could be the best time to a good time to step up the plate and go into the Eurobond market. There's no idea of how much Nigeria will be asking for at the marketplace and at what price that will be in terms of yield. But if you look at the country's inflation and the country risk and the current rating so far, well, it's going to be anyone's guess how much the international investors or creditors will be asking for, commercial creditors will be asking for from Nigeria as a risk yield. So let's leave that there until we get more data in the room. Moody's, however, has given Nigeria a positive outlook, the first since 2011, and that could be some good news for Nigeria as it goes into the Eurobond market. In Ghana, inflation lowers slightly to 23.2% for the month of February, while cocoa prices jump globally because there is a slowdown in production and exports from three main producers in West Africa: Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, as well as Nigeria. In the meantime, Guinea-Bissau has gotten IMF $8.2 million US dollars. That will be coming through in May, by the way. And that's some of the latest within the West African region. You can look up the rest. Let's get on to Southern Africa. And I mentioned the stock market, very strong, positive reading on the back of resources. Stocks listed on the Africa's most advanced economy, and that was Wednesday. In the meantime, Angola is planning a foreign currency bond sale to boost the country's FX liquidity. The oil markets, production, output, and all that wasn't so stellar in terms of performance and returns to Angola last year. So the country is looking at how to get things running. The IMF concluded its Article 4 consultation with Angola on the 8th of May, which shows that the country is on track for some economic recovery this year, as well as the country's currency against the US dollar. Inflation is seen around about a single digit, while GDP will remain a little bit tepid. In Zimbabwe, Econet Wireless is paying about 0.55 cents as cash dividends to shareholders. In the meantime, Sandile Shabalala has been named the CEO of Access Bank in South Africa, just as news came in late yesterday that Aig Aig-Imoukhuede, a partner and friend to the late Herbert Higwigwe in Access Bank, has returned to the bank as the chairman. The board of directors made the announcement and filed that a notification to the Nigerian Exchange on Wednesday post-market hours, bringing Aig Aig-Imoukhuede back into the building or down in Victoria Island, where Access Bank is headquarters. With the demise or tragic event or loss of Herbert Higwigwe just a couple of weeks ago, the board of directors says they want to leverage the pedigree, the experience, the goodwill that Aig Aig-Imoukhuede has as a founder of 21st Century Access Bank. Now that Higwigwe is no longer alive and in the saddle, then they want Aig Aig-Imoukhuede to step back into the bank and set the future of the Pan-African lender from here. So Aig Aig-Imoukhuede is back in the banking sector after 10 years of exit. Okay, Namibia Central Bank says it's probing CBI Exchange Limited and one other individual, Mr. Botha, for their involvement. They are being accused of using the financial services company to collect deposits, which the Central Bank of Namibia says is against the rules of the game. In South Africa, it's likely to license additional 60 crypto exchanges and provide a boost for the market as the world looks at the world of crypto exchanges. Nigeria is battling Binance Exchange here over allegations of misconduct. And finally, in Southern Africa, the National Bank of Malawi is paying 29.28 Kwacha, a second interim dividend. And that's coming from the Southern African economy. Those are your headlines in Southern Africa. Let's finish up in the north. And of course, I'm sure you know, Egypt is going to be on top of the table. Is appetite by foreign portfolio investors and others beginning to wane just after a few days that we saw the rally in the EGX. But let's see how things go today. And we step into the weekend in Cairo and return on Sunday. Egypt commodities export reported at 6% upside, $6.12 billion or so between the first 2 months of this year. Moody's Africa is affirming CAA1 rating of 5 Egyptian banks. That looks like some good news. And GTEx Africa, that's a huge tech Exhibition and Forum is returning to Morocco May the 29th to 31. And Algerian Business Council is planning a trade expo in the month of June. And finally, Tunisia has signed deals to increase financing of green energy projects in the country. Those are your headlines across Frontier Africa. This is your Frontier Africa Reports. I am boosting number 5 with today's Frontier Opening Bell. Bye for now.